I still remember the feeling of holding my very first paycheck. I was 19. I'd worked 40 hours of back-breaking labor that week, and in my head, I'd already spent the money. I knew exactly what it was supposed to be. But when I opened that envelope, the number was wrong. It was significantly smaller than the math I'd done on my calculator. I looked at the line items: federal tax, state tax, Social Security, Medicare. Nearly 30% of my life, of my time, had been harvested before I even got to touch the cash. I felt like I was paying for a party I wasn't invited to. But here is the thing that will keep you up at night. While you and I are losing a third of our lives to the IRS, the world's billionaires have figured out how to spend millions of dollars every single year without ever earning a single taxable cent. They aren't breaking the law. They aren't hiding money in the Caymans. They're using a strategy so simple and so legal, it's practically a glitch in the simulation. It's called buy, borrow, die. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how the 0.1% turned the tax code into their personal piggy bank.
20 years ago, if you wanted to be rich, the advice was simple: get a high-paying job. If you were a doctor, a lawyer, or a corporate executive, you were winning. You traded your time for a massive salary, and life was good. But in 2026, the world looks very different. In the digital age, income is a trap. Think about when you buy a coffee or check your banking app. You see the numbers go up and down based on what you earn. But the wealthiest people on the planet, they don't have income in the way you think. If Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos wants a new private jet, they don't wait for a Friday paycheck. In fact, many of these CEOs take a yearly salary of exactly $1. Now you might think, well, they're just being humble. No, they are being tactical. Because in our current system, the government can only tax you when you realize your wealth. If you have $1 billion in stock, but you never sell it, on paper, you've earned nothing. You are a billionaire who, according to the IRS, has the same taxable income as a teenager working at a lemonade stand. This is the foundation of the wealth gap in 2026. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you don't show the taxman.
So why does this feel so heavy? Why does it feel like you're running a race where the finish line keeps moving further away? It's because you are fighting a two-front war. On one side, you have the IRS taking their cut from your paycheck. On the other side, you have inflation, devaluing the money you actually manage to keep. You are being squeezed. The specific enemy here isn't a person, it's a definition. It's the way the tax code defines realized gains. The system is designed to reward people who own things and punish people who do things. Think about your daily life. Every time you work an hour of overtime, you're actually moving yourself into a higher tax bracket, where the government takes an even bigger percentage. You are literally being penalized for working harder. Meanwhile, the billionaire's wealth is growing while they sleep. If their stock goes up by $10 million today, they don't pay a penny in tax. They are sitting in what I call the paper fortress. The IRS is like a predator that can only see movement. If you sell your stock to buy a house, you moved. The IRS sees you. They bite. But if you just sit there, if your wealth stays stationary in the form of assets, you are invisible to them. This realization is usually where people get angry, and you should be. It feels like the system is rigged. But stay with me, Because once you understand the magic bridge, the anger turns into clarity. Let's look inside the paper fortress. If a billionaire doesn't have a salary and they don't sell their stocks, how do they buy the jet? How do they pay for the mansion in Malibu? They use the most powerful tool in the financial universe: debt. But not the kind of debt you and I have, not credit card debt with 24% interest that keeps you awake at night. They use something called an SBLOC, a Securities-Backed Line of Credit. Imagine you have a mountain of gold worth $100 million. You don't want to sell the gold because you'd have to pay taxes, and the gold might be worth more next year. So, you go to a bank. The billionaire says to the bank, "See this fortress? It's worth $1 billion. Give me a loan for $10 million. Use my fortress as collateral." The bank says, "Of course, our interest rate is only 3% because we know you're good for it." Now, look at what just happened. The billionaire now has $10 million in cash. They can spend it on anything. But is that $10 million income? No, it's a loan. And in the eyes of the tax code, a loan is a liability, not a gain. You don't pay taxes on money you borrow. This is the infinite money glitch. They use the bank's money to live their life, while their own wealth stays invested and continues to grow at 7 or 10% per year. If your wealth grows at 10% and your loan costs 3%, you are literally getting paid to borrow money. It's like a straw. He never touches his own money. He just sips from the bank's vault, using his growing skyscraper as the guarantee. It's a perfect loop. No taxes, no selling, just pure, uninterrupted growth. While you are trying to save enough for a down payment after taxes, they are using the tax code as a trampoline to jump even higher. If you're feeling a bit overwhelmed right now, I want you to take a breath. It is not your fault that you didn't know this. You weren't taught this in school. You weren't taught this because the school system was designed during the Industrial Revolution to create good workers, people who earn taxable income. The system was never meant to teach you how to be an owner. But understanding this mechanism, that is 50% of the victory. Once you see the paper fortress, you can't unsee it. You realize that the rules everyone keeps screaming at you, work hard, save money, pay your bills, are the rules for the players, not the owners of the game. You don't need to be a billionaire to start thinking like a one. You just need to shift your perspective from "how do I earn more" to "how do I own more?" The anger you felt earlier, let it go. Anger is a distraction. Clarity is a weapon. The moment you stop looking at your paycheck as your only source of wealth and start looking at it as a tool to buy assets that the IRS can't see, that's the day you start building your own fortress. So, how do we apply this in 2026? Obviously, we don't all have $1 billion in stock to borrow against, but we can follow the 3-step blueprint the ultra-rich use. Step 1. Prioritize unrealized assets. Stop focusing solely on your salary. Every time you get a raise, don't increase your lifestyle. Take that extra taxable income and convert it into unrealized assets as fast as possible. Buy index funds, real estate, or fractional shares. Your goal is to move your money into the paper fortress where the IRS daters can't reach it. Step 2. Use good debt strategically. As your assets grow, you'll eventually have enough to use them as collateral. Many modern fintech apps now allow regular people to take small loans against their portfolios.
Instead of selling your stock to pay for an emergency and hitting a massive tax bill, you borrow against it. You keep your shares, they keep growing, and you pay a small interest rate instead of a large tax rate. Step 3. The die part. The step up in basis. This sounds dark, but it's the ultimate move. Under current laws, when a billionaire passes away and leaves his assets to his kids, the cost basis resets. All those decades of growth, all the billions of dollars in taxes that should have been paid, they just vanish. The kids inherit the assets as if they bought them that day. Now, I have to ask you something. If you woke up tomorrow and found $100 million in your bank account, would you play the game by the rules you were taught in high school? Would you voluntarily give 30% of it away every year because it feels fair? Or would you build your own paper fortress to protect your family's future? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious where you draw the line between hacking the system and doing what's necessary. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. Income is a tax trap, but ownership is a tax shield. The world isn't divided into good people and bad people. It's divided into people who trade their time for a taxable check and people who trade their capital for an untaxable asset. The buy, borrow, die strategy is just the tip of the iceberg. It's how the wealthy stay wealthy. But it's also a symptom of a much larger, much stranger system of illusions. Speaking of illusions, have you ever wondered why we pay thousands of dollars for a shiny rock that's actually one of the most common minerals on Earth? In my next video, we're going to dive into the diamond scam. We'll look at how one company used psychology to invent the 3-month salary rule and manipulate the entire world's heartstrings. If you want to understand how the world actually works, stick around. We're building a community of people who are tired of being the players and are ready to understand the game. I'll see you in the next one.